Now you mentioned Judge Jesse Navarez just a moment ago.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is I've heard different things about him. Now I know Jesse, and my interaction with Jesse has been really positive, quite honestly. And that's when I've listened to some people talk about him. I thought, are we talking about the same person? Now I first spoke with Jesse maybe 4 or 5 years ago. It was a hot summer day. I caught him in the parking lot, and he stayed there. To his credit, he stayed there. I spoke alongside of him at an event about 2 years ago. And I liked a lot of what he said. In fact, he said, "Come on to the family courts, and I will give you a tour of what we do. I'll show you how the system works." Now, we've never done that yet, and maybe it's time for Jesse to do that. But I know that there are a lot of people in Tarrant County, yourself included, that have a different opinion of him. So go ahead and okay.
It's not just me, you know.
Okay.
So there was a whole group of 231st parents, and we have found each other. And this is not just a simple instance of someone being unhappy with a ruling. We're finding a pattern of him just completely falsifying court documents, fabricating information, signing it as true, using the courts to funnel money to his lawyer friends, just making rulings that are completely baseless and arbitrary. We're having a hard time even understanding how he comes to these terms. But briefly, you know, my background situation with him is my ex-wife is denying me access to my son right now.
Right.
And I would put the blame of that at the feet of Judge Jesse Navarez because he lied and said that I do not live in Texas on a court order, that my son has no friends or family, and then he relinquished jurisdiction over my case. So that empowered my ex-wife to begin denying me access, and I haven't seen my son since March. And he did this the day before an evidentiary hearing. So there was a hearing set where I was going to answer for the false allegations, and he went ahead and decided, well, I'm just going to sign this order before you have your hearing. Can you imagine if you were on trial for a crime and they found you guilty the day before your trial? Well, this stuff happens in family courts
all the time.
All the time, and it's even more, you know, our parental rights are at least as important as our freedoms and liberties that are fought over in criminal courts. But so anyway, he did this, and I found out, and I basically fired my attorney, and I, you know, said, you know, how could you allow this to happen? Followed findings of facts, conclusions of law, and then Jesse basically sent court documents saying that I was guilty. I felt so guilty about the allegations that I couldn't bring myself to respond. And so something really screwy happened where he was able to manipulate my attorney. I personally believe he did not want a news reporter in his courtroom because of all the stuff that I found since.
Right.
And so anyway, fast forward to July 25th, I'm in his court for an enforcement. And he orders me before the bench and begins just a verbal tirade telling me to stop investigating his court. This has nothing to do with why I was there.
Right.
And he's threatening me. And my friend Manuel Mata steps in the courtroom and he sends his bailiffs, 2 bailiffs, this is important for later, after my friend Manuel Mata. And Jesse looks at me and says, "Do you see what you've done? You're getting people hurt." So the inference is that if I keep going down this track of investigating his court, which I will do as long as he's in power because he is corrupt, my friends and family will get hurt. But an interesting thing I found out later, I was like, why were there 2 bailiffs there? And they were standing behind me. So the way Jesse had it set up, he had these bailiffs behind me, intimidating me. You know, sent his bailiffs out to accost my friend, and then said, "This is going to happen. Basically, this is going to happen to you." And to be clear, he's threatening me in my capacity as a news reporter. Completely inappropriate. Did he think this was a good idea? Like I was not going to follow up and make this very public? I immediately told my editor and the publisher of the newspaper, like, what the hell is this guy doing? So anyway, there are 2 bailiffs, and I was like, wait, there's only 1 bailiff in the courtroom. The other one's in the associate courtroom. So he called this bailiff over, and I just filed 2 complaints on the bailiffs today with the county sheriffs because that violates their policy. You're not supposed to leave a courtroom unprotected.
Okay.
And so, you know, we'll see how that's handled.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's, you know, that was the most recent thing that's happened with Jesse Navarez.
It's interesting that you talk about the bailiffs there. I was testifying on behalf of a person in March down in Williamson County. And the judge at the very beginning said, "Well, there's too many people here. They're going to testify on his behalf. I'm not going to have all of this." So his attorneys took me off the list, and the opposing counsel called me up, right? and tried to get me to say that I was part of this like harassment group or something, which I'm not. Like you, I seek to have the truth out there, let the truth speak, let the people become aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
Anyway, the judge said, "Are you recording right now?" Well, I'm under oath, and I said, "Yes, I'm audio recording," and he threatened me with contempt of court. Now, I looked before I went into the courtroom. Said nothing about no audio recording. He didn't give anybody a warning about no audio recording. I think it's unconstitutional anyway. And what you're saying in the courts that you've been in is that we need more transparency, not less. And we get into a position where it becomes a my word versus the judge's word. They're always going to side with the judge. They're always going to side with the bailiff. They're always going to side with law enforcement. And they've taken our ability away to create a record and to present evidence because they don't let us collect the evidence.
There was a court reporter, Shelley Mayo, sitting next to me when Jesse was threatening me, and it's funny. She just kind of just stopped her court reporting, you know. So
how amazing that is!
There was no record of it, but there were
record.
lots of witnesses, and my attorney was there, and several witnesses were there as well, thankfully.
Yeah.
But it's not as strong as having a video recording or a transcript that we can do. So transparency is a huge part of what we're working toward. Absolutely.
And I think that there actually was a video and audio recording because the courts, if you look, they have video cameras
I've
in the
seen
courtroom.
them. I can't access those. I've done open records requests.
And that's a problem because
Yeah.
if you were to attack somebody, they would use the evidence against you.
Makes sense. Yes. Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So why can't we request that evidence, have it preserved so that we can use that against them?
Okay. Okay, that's a good point. I'm going to go back and insist on getting that footage because you see those cameras pointing in from the corners.
Yeah,
of the
they're
courtroom.
all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.